Namaste. I'm Dr. Robert, and today on 5-ish Minutes with Dr. Robert, my subject is practicing Indian spirituality as a foreigner, as a non-Indian. I would say probably the first thing that you should always remember when you are dealing with anything that has to do with India, and I'm saying this as a person who went there 50 years ago and has spent a total of half of the past 50 years there, is no matter how long you were there and no matter how much you were exposed to, you are only going to be exposed to a very small amount of what the totality of the reality is over there. I'm not even sure that there's anybody over there who's been exposed to everything that's the reality over there. But especially you coming in from the outside, you need to realize that you're going to be exposed to a small window of what the reality of that particular experience is. So it is very important to not assume that what you are experiencing, however valid and however meaningful it may be, is in any way characteristic of what is happening to anyone else, anywhere else, in the context of what we may call Indian spirituality. So always approach everything that you are exposing yourself to with a great degree of humility. You don't have the full context, and therefore do not assume things. Do not try to project ahead. And it's especially important to understand that the structure of personality in the East and in the West is very different. Not just in India, but in East Asia also. Generally speaking, this is very general, but it's still true. In the West, and people all over the world who are more westernized, there's a concept that you can only be healthy psychologically if you are, relatively speaking, very, very individuated away from everybody else you know, your entire family, etc. Whereas in India and other parts of the world, there is built into the culture and has been understood, often in a very unconscious or sometimes subconscious way, that it is not healthy, unless you're a renunciate, it is not healthy to individuate yourself away too much from everyone who's part of your immediate family, your blood family, your extended family. So what this means is when you're interacting with people, even people who may be very spiritually advanced, you have to be very careful not to project your own expectations, your own way of looking at personality structure. Number one, because that will not be useful for you. And number two, because you may misinterpret how things are being presented to you or how you are understanding things if you're not appreciating just how different your way as a non-Indian of organizing things is, just how different it is from the way that psychically things get organized in India. So it's also very good to remember that the word for tradition is Parampara. It means not only going beyond, but going beyond to beyond, generation to generation. Many forms of knowledge have been transmitted within families or within clans. That knowledge has therefore become very, very contextualized. And you have to be, as far as possible, able to understand the context, and even more to understand that there's certain things about that context that you probably will never understand before you try to grab hold of something and hold it tenaciously, which is a tendency in the modern world because we have commodified everything. So it's also very important to remember that spirituality is not something you can commodify. It's something that is a reality that is beyond, and that's the whole point of the spirit, beyond the physical manifestation of everything we think of when we think of physical manifestation. This is Dr. Robert, wishing everyone Om Namah Shivaya.